What if you could go back in time? Most, if not all of us now, would probably think, well, let's go before this whole global situation happened and nip it in the bud at source. Or if we couldn't do that, at least help to flatten the curve a lot earlier so we didn't all have to stay inside. But what if we thought grander and earlier? What if we could go back to the early 60s, say, in Dallas? What if we could prevent the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, or JFK for short? Well, that is what is posited in the novel and TV series 11/22/63, the book being written by Stephen King, the series being developed by Bridget Carpenter with executive production from J.J. Abrams. The cast in this is great. You've of course got James Franco, Daniel Webber, who's great in this, Chris Cooper, Cherry Jones, who I love, Sarah Gadon, George Mackay. Everyone in this does such a great job of performing their roles. But it is such a great idea. Like when I covered the butterfly effect, I like the idea of looking at time travel as a cause and effect kind of loop. Everything you do in the past will have an impact. And I like Jake's sort of testing the water things. But what I really wanted to get onto with this is the fact that we do have a reset button. If you come back through the portal and everything's gone wrong or something has changed that you didn't like, all you have to do is go back through and your changes have reset. So if you really want everything to just carry on as normal because your idea was so wrong and it isn't going to work out, you just walk through the door and back again and everything's back to normal. And I love this idea, this brilliant conceit that is all it takes. And whilst Jake may be gone for ages, he's gone for years, he comes back and it's such a short amount of time. That also means that he has multiple trials before potentially, being too old in both worlds at the same time. But I did love this series for one idea that came to me, and it's something that I don't think a lot of sources really look at in detail, and that's the idea that we all think about the grandest time travel experiment of going back to, say, the Jurassic or Triassic or Cretaceous periods, stepping on some kind of proto-butterfly, although they'd probably be huge back then, and, making something awful happen right in the future. We'd all be walking on our hands or something like that. We always think in these weird grand terms, but every little action can have an impact. So we teach ourselves that if that technology ever existed or a weird portal appeared, what we would do is be minimal impact. And that's what Jake starts out doing. And really what he's told by Al. Have as little contact as you can. Put money on a few bets every so often to give yourself some funds because you already know the outcome. Which, the moment he starts changing anything, those should shift too. But he is trying to be as low impact as possible. But the thought that came to my mind is that we cannot change something without becoming part of it. I think that's the thing that, unfortunately, over time, he has to learn. He tries not to be a part of this world. He tries not to be invested and involved. But to live in this world for any length of time and to make a difference, he has to be part of it. He has to befriend Bill. He has to be attracted to Sadie. He has to come to blows with her husband. He has to deal with an interracial relationship in 1960s America. He becomes invested, which makes him want to complete his mission more. Because no longer does he want to go, well, it might be a better world for us. He wants to make a better world for the people he's come to know in this time. What if they got to grow up with JFK as their president for longer? What if they got to grow up in a world where, things were better because of things that he started that he didn't have the chance to do? What if he was alive to see the moon landings that he'd kind of put the idea out and started really the ball rolling on, as far as I understand? And that's what he wants. He wants this world for these people he's grown attached to. And of course, let's not forget his janitor friend, who he goes back and tries to help out as well. He tries to make his life better. But of course, he builds these attachments despite himself, manages to sort of figure out what was going on, get involved in Lee Harvey Oswald's life. He gets in there, he's piecing it all together and having some fun along the way, but, towards the end he is getting to the point of like, right, we can cancel this, we can make this better, and comes back to a world that is devastated. He could not have prepared for this. This was not something that he expected. But he learns that a snowball effect happened. The butterfly effect, I guess. Changing that one thing changed the whole future, and everything went sideways. So he goes back, knowing that the world without JFK's assassination is a lot worse than the one with it. Whilst this guy may have done a ton of good, whilst things might have been enacted under his leadership that wouldn't have been otherwise, or that weren't otherwise, the world as in general has suffered for it. So he has to go back. But he also realizes that Sadie was right there when he walked through. He's got this connection to her, and he just goes and says hi and realizes that he has to leave her behind. She, as much as she was such an impact in him, and he would love to have spent his life with her, he wants to make sure that she makes the right choices in life and just gives her, some hope and a friendly face before going, I need you to live your life. But then I love the ending, where he goes and sees her at the school that she's teaching at and sort of being recognised for her years of service. And this moment to me, this ending moment of like a love that, technically is through the ages, he really still cares for her very deeply, and he's kind of bittersweet, I think, that she's had the life she's had, because it's meant that it's a life without him in it. But the fact she got to be a well-loved and respected teacher, she got to give joy and hope to whole generations of children, and she's getting that recognition now. It makes him happy in a way that, he wouldn't have had otherwise. This experience, whilst it all had to be reset, while it all had to go back to JFK having been assassinated, there was still some good to come out of it. And I think that's really the core message here. It's like, change what you want, dream all you want about what you change, but it's the end result that matters. And I think that's beautiful. It's a wonderful way of capping it out. And, it's why I love this series. And yes, it's also got the thing of like, you can't go back in time and change things without becoming involved. To go back into a time period means you become part of that time period. Indelibly. You are part of that now. And I think that's beautiful too, the idea of like being part of something to change it. And like I say, that end result. But this was a beautiful series. It wasn't without its flaws. There were moments that kind of could have been cut out maybe for a bit of better pacing. Some things could have been expanded on. But I enjoyed it for what it was. And whilst I've not read the source material and can't compare, I don't think it veers far enough that people were super angry from what I could find. But if you haven't watched this series yet, you've got plenty of time right now as the world's in stay-at-home mode. So add it to your list if you haven't. Maybe give it a rewatch if you haven't seen it for a while. Definitely recommended. Like I say, great performances all around. And it's an interesting what-if story. So next time I'm going to delve back into, I think, something that I love. But until then, as always, thank you for watching and take care.